Everyone eats out every day, but people don't think about how food arrives on the plate. This is Grounded, and I'm Lauren Mitchell. Join me as we delve deep into the challenges, expertise, and experiences of professionals and innovators in the food service industry. Grounded is powered by the Buyer's Edge Produce Division. Our mission is to provide innovative solutions and excellent service to food service operators.
Hi, this is Stephanie File, Chief Procurement Officer at Produce Alliance with your 1-minute update from the field. It's that time of year again, transition. Transition is when we move from the desert growing region in Yuma back to our California growing regions. Unfortunately, it's common to see issues arise during this time frame. I want to talk to you about a few commodities that are currently being affected. Lettuce, cauliflower, and broccoli. We are seeing shortages in supply and escalating markets. These issues stem from weather-related issues in Yuma. We saw extremely windy days and very cold temperatures and more rain than typical. In California, many fields were affected by the rain, which slowed growth and lowered our yields. Another commodity I want to touch on is strawberries. Strawberries have been severely problematic because the majority of yields are pulling from California, which was hit hard with rain. We do hope to see some improvements as early as next week, and we hope it continues to improve a little each week from that point on. On a better topic, one commodity that we have great supply on is Roma and round tomatoes. Mexico has had a plentiful production in crops this last week, and quality, taste, and color look great. For more information on market conditions, visit our website or follow Produce Alliance on Twitter or Instagram.
Today's guest, I am thrilled to be speaking with this individual today. His strong partners in the industry and a robust team that keeps him well informed and on top of his salad game. He's got a strong background in hospitality operations with a Bachelor of Arts in Hotel and Restaurant Management, a demonstrated history of working in the food and beverage industry. He was a national and district sales manager for McLean Food Distribution and presently the Director of Procurement at Salata Salad Kitchen, Mr. Josh Hoyt.
Good morning, Lauren. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm excited to dig in.
Thanks. Happy to be here as well.
Okay, so I guess to start, tell me about your position as Director of Procurement for Salata. What does that involve?
I wear many hats, but primarily I maintain supply chain for our 93 current restaurants in 5 states. Essentially manage contracts for all of our food, non-food, catering supplies, and as well as produce. So proteins, dairy, essentially all major categories that are supporting the restaurants.
Okay, so that answers my next question. So you not only take care of fresh produce for a produce-centric brand like Salata, but you have other categories too, dairy, protein. Yeah, that'll keep you busy.
Yeah, we're definitely not, we're a growing brand. We'll be at well over 100 restaurants by the end of this year. That's our growth plan. But I manage essentially all categories. So produce being a fresh concept, produce is probably 60 or 70% of our line. Being a salad concept, it's hugely important to us. But we also do 12 lean proteins, protein options. So that also falls under my umbrella.
Okay. All right. So tell me, for fresh produce, at least, you've got distribution that supports you. Is it single carrier, multiple carriers, and with it being in 5 different states, how does that change state to state? Is it single for all states, or do you have a different setup?
Yeah, so our largest volume comes out of the state of Texas. So we're in 4 major markets: Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin. We've had a long-term partner that has supported us in the Texas market. One thing that's important to me on our largest, some of our largest purchases, produce, that we have a single point of contact and sort of single distribution service through one carrier. So our current partner has been able to support us in the entire Texas market. But then we have another single point of contact outside for California, at Charlotte, Atlanta, soon to be West West Coast Florida, actually the Panhandle of Florida. So got some new markets coming on board and growing. So
That's great.
we used to have a regional distribution strategy, and that just one particular produce company in a market, in each market, say a different produce company in Atlanta, a different one in Los Angeles, one different one in Charlotte. It just didn't work for us. Too many different programs, no contracting ability. Volume speaks. Good volume speaks wonders for us. Helps us with contracting, and we weren't seeing that. So being able to align with one particular produce, I guess sort of a national produce company, was definitely helpful.
Sure. Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar with produce and contract management, being able to leverage all of your volume for as much as possible, even if you've got saturation in one market, such as Salata in the Texas area, or you want to take the entire volume nationally, and you leverage that to support good buys on your high volume produce items. So being able to have, first of all, just like what you said, single points of contact and distribution points is very helpful. And then especially for someone who starts growing across state lines, such as yourself. How about, for the vendors that support you in terms of the final mile, trucks pulling up to your kitchen doors, what is one thing that you wish they knew or could really understand that could help you serve your restaurants better? Something that maybe just recently you've experienced, or even just something a pattern that you see frequently, where if they could understand this, it would really help, your ultimate goal for the brand.
For us, consistency is key. Knowing that partner, vendor partner that we've chosen, can hit delivery windows. We know things are not going to be perfect. Distribution has its challenges, until it's run by robots, picked by robots, no weather challenges, things of that nature. We're still going to have the standard distribution headaches, but if they could be very consistent in hitting delivery windows, we try to teach our franchisees and operators not to live off the back of the truck, but we do know things happen. For us, consistency is key. And then also have a partner that truly looks at us, sells to us on a consultative level. Me being having a limited procurement window, vision to what's going on in the fields, and sort of what's new and on trend. Letting them come to me and share new ideas, new thoughts, and just be that consultant.
Sure.
And really just, hey, we saw this, something was really neat and cool. We thought you might be interested in, and actually having the vendor know our operation and understand what it is that we do and kind of what we're trying to accomplish. So if we have some, business reviews a couple times a year, just like where we stand, what are we doing, how are you performing for us, how are we performing for you as a vendor, and really understanding that partnership. Those are the two critical things that I'm looking for: really consultative selling, a vendor that knows our business, wants our business, and then having consistency on the delivery side. I think that should be pretty standard across the industry. I would think most procurement individuals procurement professionals are looking for that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Gosh, absolutely. I heard a couple of things there: consistency, but also step ahead partner. So as you're managing not only fresh produce, and I think there's like over 70 fresh ingredients for your brand, but also multiple categories, someone who's out there with eyes in the marketplace, not only putting new ideas in front of you, but vetting them as far as, knowing what Salata can do and where they want to go. So that's so key. I love that you brought that up, and kind of having the proactive support out there. All right. So another question I want to ask is kind of going into challenges, as we're no stranger to in produce and certainly just supply chain as a whole. And they say moments of massive disruption can lead to great opportunities. Can you give me an example of how a disruption or a challenge has led you to a winning strategy that you still utilize today?
Yeah, definitely. One comes to mind. We had operations on the East Coast. during the pandemic. We use a really specific pita bread that is produced in Los Angeles from a particular vendor that we use for a long time. Fantastic product. But obviously we knew trucking shortages, delays, things of that nature. We ran into some delays on this particular product getting into our final mile distributor on the East Coast. And this was new right as I came on board with Salata. But I started asking a lot of questions like, why do we use this particular vendor? We're shipping something from Los Angeles to Atlanta, adding additional freight. Let's find some local partners. Let's reach out and let's do some cuttings on some other products. So we actually reached out to distributor friendly vendor that was in the market and started looking at essentially new vendors for that particular product. And so they were able to meet all of our needs and actually saved us quite a bit of money and gave us a very similar product without having to change recipes and things of that nature. Really not necessarily thinking outside the box, but just challenging the status quo and like, why do we buy this product? Why are we using this vendor? It doesn't make sense. Let's look at local, let's look at regional, and there can be some synergy for them as well as savings, and just help the supply chain not be difficult, right? Let's use people that are down the street and build those new relationships. So that's one key thing that I think I brought to the position is truly challenging the status quo and asking, why do we use this? Truly knowing the operation and just searching for new products, but trying to take some cost out of the equation as well.
Absolutely. I think understanding cost breakdown by item is kind of the paths that'll send you to opportunities like that. Multiple sourcing points add tremendous value if you can kind of understand the right partners in different markets, and just simply asking the question, right? So I love that. Great. So how about this one? What has been something that Salata started doing within produce procurement, and maybe something you specifically brought to Salata that's been so successful you kept doing it?
One thing that we looked at just recently was expanding our contracted items. We traditionally had 5 contracted items, and started looking at the volume and the growth that we've had over the last 2 years and really expanding that to actually 10 or 12 items now. I'm still in some negotiations with a couple of items. We might be picking the wrong time of year for certain things like strawberries and, given everything that's going on in California right now.
Certainly.
And then the stress that's being put on other areas to continue their growing region, their growing areas, or the pull from Mexico. But moving the contracted items, bumping that up to 10. Traditionally, I guess there are 2 schools of thoughts. Play the market. Don't contract. You may be a winner in certain areas. You may win some, you may lose some. The second thought is contract. You may pay a little more for the long run, but you're going to have contract. You're going to have product because it's contracted, and you'll have a consistent price. For me, romaine hearts is our number 1 item. That, as well as spinach and some spring Arcadian mix. Having those contracted and knowing that I can essentially set my food costs for the remainder of the year, barring any acts of God, force majeure issues, we can set that price and know that particular product and our yield is going to remain the same. So, and I guess back to your original point or question, expanding those contracts to further solidify our food cost is one thing that I've done on the produce side.
Yeah, that's one question that some people don't know the answer to, and some people are searching for a better answer for, is what percentage of your spend is contracted, and how do you choose which items to contract versus which ones to not? Just as you brought up, playing the market versus just having cost stability, or understanding the value of that contract to the market in, let's say, last year's context. But, heading into transition, twice a year, we move in and out of Yuma and Salinas with the romaine specifically and other greens, row crop, broccoli, cauliflower. When we get in a position where supply is a concern, and demand is staying same, if not heavy, as in the spring. A lot more salad eaters out there. A lot of the suppliers or growers will hold to their 10-week averages, which is essentially those that are on a contract and have been consistently buying. So where they have to really hone in on, we've got this much available to ship and this is who it's going to go to. They start with just those, steady, consistent customers that have relied on, their specific product over the course of the year. So absolutely. I think that's fantastic. You guys are moving up from 5 to 6 items to 10 to 12 in terms of contracts too. So very cool.
And to your point, we've been extremely loyal to our vendors, essentially the farmers out in California. We haven't jumped for $1.50 a case, and we've had people approach us. But and to me, I'm very loyal, and maybe to a fault. But I see value in those relationships. That 50 cents a case is not going to sway me from remembering that they took care of us during the difficult times like we're about to run into. My current vendors have said they are going to keep us in product. They've kept us in product in the past when we've had some hiccups, and I know my operators and franchisees are happy for those relationships, and I think it's just good business long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Loyalty. And that answer might kind of be part of your answer for this question, but I'm curious if it might be different in any way. And that is just like what you discussed. A lot of people can get distracted by, saving $1 or perhaps a shiny new thing for any sense of the word. But what basic principle exists at your core to drive the decision-making and procurement?
I live off of 3 principles, 3 points. One is quality first, finding a quality product. Second is availability. And third is price. Quality first and foremost, and we've got a quality brand. We put out a quality product, and we think we have a great perceived value by our customers, and that's why we have seen growth. Availability, having a great product with zero availability does you no good, right? So for me, when I'm sourcing for a new product, it's got to be available and easy in the distribution chain. If I've got to help somebody figure out distribution and it's a product I'm really interested in, they're not in a secondary distributorship or they haven't figured that out, it's very difficult to do business with them. If availability is fantastic, it makes it that much easier to pull the trigger and make that decision. And price for me is further down the line. If I can improve my quality and maintain the price where I'm at currently, to me, that's a win, and it's something that I would definitely consider. So really those 3 things are the driving principles behind everything that I do.
Absolutely. The availability is huge. I mean, we can be delivered new ideas every day by folks, but if it's not something that you can easily drop into your distribution channel, it becomes a new problem to have to solve. So yeah, I love that answer. Thank you. All right. So we are no stranger to challenges and problem solving, specifically in fresh produce procurement and distribution. What are some of the challenges you encounter in this category specifically, just over the course of your time with Salata?
We've, based on our vendor partnerships, we've been really blessed over the last 2 years to really run into minor issues. Knock on wood, and I hate to say this, but there have been really no E. coli outbreaks. One thing with us serving a lot of fresh veggies, especially on romaine and the leaf lettuces, when there's some sort of an E. coli outbreak in the mass media, creates a panic. That creates issues for us, and we haven't seen that lately. Things have been pretty quiet on the produce front. We've been able to use this time to look at wanting to do contracts and also some new products. We're kicking the tires on some hydroponic, trying to bring in some more nutritional items to our line. So just some things that we're working on internally to possibly increase the offerings for our franchisees, as well as the the final customer. So I don't
Awesome.
have a really good answer. We don't have potatoes on our line. We're not impacted by, the potato crop shortages come, late in the year. We've been pretty blessed to not be too heavily impacted on that. We are going to see some potential scares coming up, and we're working on options and plans for that. But once again, I think our vendors are going to come through for us and support us first because of our contracts.
No, that's great. I mean, certainly with romaine, there's no easy solution for a Caesar salad. And so, staying in the lane, I think our industry is getting smarter. There's, wash testing and other things in play here that can support our restaurants that have that as a critical item, again, for Caesars and other things like that, because it's not going to go anywhere. And understanding kind of risk mitigation is important too. But as you said, I mean, transition is not something that we can shy away from. It happens twice a year and it's going to happen every year. But if you go into it eyes open and understanding, okay, so here's where we're going to see either lighter boxes, smaller sizing, in particular with iceberg, for an example, and kind of putting in these contingency plans as well with your vendor partner, just walking into it arm in arm, I think it's a win-win. So.
Well, one of the first questions you asked was regarding challenges, and what have we done to pivot? And I'd given the pita bread, non-produce related, but given that answer, looking at what's coming to us here in the next coming weeks with the transition, and what's going on at Salinas on the row crops, that's forced us to look at new options, i.e. hydroponic. What could we do to maybe limit some of that burden on the row crops and, bring something new in? So, it's just, once again, we've got to find a new way to continue to support our customers and make sure that we've got product to sell. So
Sure.
out of tragedy comes maybe some, out of adversity comes, new ways of thinking.
Sure. So let's talk about visibility into your supply chain. And for those that aren't quite familiar, Josh is in the position of directing the procurement for, as we said, multiple lanes outside of fresh produce, but taking produce specifically, how are you tracking quality or fill rate reporting into the store locations? It's a franchisee model. So you've got a lot of independent restaurants out there that are bringing product into the doors. What is your visibility into what's going on and how are you tracking it?
Question. So we use an outside company. I think it's one of your sister companies. We use Restaurant Procurement Partners.
Sure. Yes, they are.
As part of the Buyer's Edge and Consolidated Concepts. We utilize them for some of that reporting and additional support. So we make sure that all of our vendors send data over electronically, and we pull reports. And so that's been extremely helpful for us. I also work directly with internally our franchise business consultants who are in touch with the restaurants on a daily and weekly basis. So we're not so large that I don't have personal relationships with our franchisees. So working with them monthly, sometimes weekly, even daily, we get reports back on what that looks like from a service level standpoint, and get surveys back from them on how well our vendors are doing. So through RPP and personal touches with our owner operators, we're able to keep a good handle on things. And also just our produce distributor partners sharing information, market reports, and weekly calls keeps us up to date.
RPP is a great partner for you guys. I've been on the other end of the table, and they definitely represent your needs very well in the sense that they've got a clear understanding of what you guys want to see, and they drive the ball down to keep everyone accountable to achieving that. So spend management reporting, all of that, that's you've got a great setup in RPP.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job for us. They definitely make my life a lot easier. And, having their level of expertise and I guess professionalism and just years of, all the years that are of support, or sorry, years of knowledge in their building. And they're all at my fingertips has been extremely helpful. Just looking at what are other concepts doing and just sharing best practices, and bringing that over definitely helps me support my franchisees.
Yeah, the interesting thing about data reporting is we can be running it all day long. And first of all, ensuring that you've got the integrity of the data, but second of all, finding the time to actually review it and then make sense of it and make a plan, based on what you've seen. It takes so much time when you're responding to fires and staffing, let's say, and just the day-to-day things that we have to deal with in supply chain. So to have someone that's actually reviewing the reports and making assessments and then also recommendations based on what they're seeing it's invaluable.
Very much so. They definitely provide that for me. So kudos to them.
All right. So we're going to fly down closer to the ground, get more into restaurant focus for Salata. It's a Houston base. Like you said, it's over 90 kitchens in 5 different states. I know part of its franchise owned. Is it completely franchise based model, or do you've got corporate stores too?
We have 9 corporate locations, so we're about 10% corporate owned. So yeah, of the 93, we've got actually 2 more opening this month, so we'll be at 95.
Okay.
We're growing organically really well within our existing franchise base. We have 24 or 25 independent franchise owners. And we've got a heavy pipeline of new franchisees definitely interested in coming on board with us. So the future is bright.
Yeah, that's great when you can get multi-unit representation in there. So again, with it being a salad concept, and I believe it's a majority fast casual lane for you guys. You come in, people serve, 70 ingredients. They can choose how to build their salad. And enjoy either off premise or off. Are you guys entertaining more of a drive-through model? I know some of them have a drive-through or pickup window. Tell us more about restaurant of the future for Salata, based on some of the trends that you've seen in recent years and in the industry at whole.
So the pandemic forced us to think about restaurant footprint, square footage, things of that nature. We're definitely seeing a little more trend of dine in over the last year or so. But 70% of our customer base is actually in-house. So of that 70%, people will actually dine in. The other 35% will essentially take food to go. The remaining 30% are Uber Eats, DoorDash, third-party delivery systems. So people like to come through our line and customize their salad. They like being able to pick and choose what they want. And it's, once again, truly customized. So just going back to the initial question of what does the Salata of the future look like? We're more than likely trimming down the square footage size just because we're seeing, still 30% is third-party delivery systems. So we can trim that down a little bit, but what we are adding in is a little bit more larger walk-ins to support fewer deliveries that we may be able to assist with our final mile. So a little bit bigger kitchen, a little bit smaller dining room. We're able to shrink from maybe 2,000 square feet to about 1,500, which is going to help our AUVs for our operators and just the initial cost of ownership. We're looking at reducing that.
Excellent. So talk to me a little bit about expansion, your franchise concept. You said you've got a few that own multiple locations. So it being in 5 states with a primary being Texas, how do you decide, what states to go to next? Is that driven by franchisee interest, or do you have, based on sourcing points, kind of a plan on where you want to stay?
So a little bit of both. We know that the Sun Belt is going to be key for us, but we're not shying away from newer markets further north. We know the Midwest is a hotbed for future growth. So we've got some interest there, but our Vice President of Franchise Development, Julie Davis, has done a fantastic job positioning us and assisting with some of the rebranding and within the franchise community to support that growth. She reaches out to me pretty consistently and says, "Hey, here's an opportunity and this one just came up in Puerto Rico. And how could we support Puerto Rico? This franchisee has X, Y, and Z number of restaurants, solid operator." And so we start putting our heads together on, does this make sense for us? Can we make that happen? But just good internal communication on final mile distribution through a broadline distributor, as well as good produce partners in that market that fit within our distribution model. So we look at all of those things. We got to make sure that we can truly support our franchisees, and that's my biggest customer, is me making sure that they are well taken care of. I take that very seriously, and going into a market that has difficulty with distribution challenges definitely is not a recipe for success for setting, basically setting that franchisee up for failure. So we make sure we do our homework in all markets and can definitely support our owner operators.
Yeah, absolutely critical for a strong partnership between, a director or VP of franchise development and procurement. We've got interest in this pocket. Does it make sense? Is it doable? That's great that you guys kind of work hip to hip with that. And it's also helpful when you've got a national program manager, because then, if growth across state lines is a goal and it's something that you can't afford to have any hurdles in the process, you can kind of outsource or delegate that, consistency of spec to them as they can work ahead of your growth plan. So I love hearing about the internal, partnership that you guys share there. And, Puerto Rico is certainly not out of the question. So that's very cool.
That just came up recently, and I thought it was kind of a little interesting. So
yeah,
that's
maybe a
definitely
field
have
trip
to start doing some field trip. Definitely have to start doing some homework.
Yeah. Well, speaking of field trip, what kind of travel is involved in your specific role? I know you've come off a bit of a travel stretch here, and I actually want to speak to you about market vision and any learnings from there. But what does it look like? Is it to go meet supplier partners? Are you touring the fields? Are you heading into locations, into the kitchens? Talk to me about what travel involves for you specifically.
We're looking at, I look at, key shows. Market vision is big just for sort of, for me, non-produce items for there. You're looking at non-food items as well as additional protein suppliers, canned goods for the little amount of items that we do use that are canned. So that NRA, seeing some of the keynote speakers, that's always important. So I'll do that and some regional produce shows. This year, I know I'm heading out to California in the summer. Might be a little weird given what they're dealing with, so I'm probably going to postpone that this year. But doing some regional produce shows, if I can keep my budget tight, I can see a lot of the same vendors that I would see on the West Coast. They come to Texas. Normally when we head to shows, especially to NRA, Market Vision, I'm starting to bring the culinary team and or even our dot distribution show. I'm bringing, VP of marketing. We're looking at other items. So as they truly have the vision on the culinary and marketing side, how do we put those pieces together? So bringing additional team members to share their insights. And, if we're looking at new items and new vendors, they say, "Hey, this looks great," and then we talk about distribution with that vendor, and we say, "Yeah, that could be a win. Let's look at that further." Or no, distribution hasn't been figured out yet. We just put it on the back burner. But having those internal partners going and working alongside at the shows I think is very important. I'm also traveling a couple times throughout the year. Like I'll be in Atlanta later this year and actually working in the restaurants with our franchisees. It's good for them to know me and make some some visits, and actually I want to see product as it's coming into the restaurants,
Absolutely.
pictures tell 1,000 words, but I want to see it and be there to receive a delivery and see what kind of service we are receiving from our distribution partners. And it just lets me sleep better at night knowing that that what I'm being told is actually what's being delivered.
Yeah, eyes on the product. Absolutely. All right. So other than the food being fantastic, I hear guests are your most important ingredient. So why do people choose Salata, in your opinion?
I believe it's the customization. I think the salad market is growing.
Mhm.
There's a lot of competition out there, but that's our competition does a lot of set salads. And for us, it's 100% customization. As you walk through the line, first thing you see is the bright colors, the boldness of the colors, as well as the crispness of the romaine hearts, and just the different mixes that we offer, and then just being able to 100% pick your salad the way you want it. And basically, Salata your way is kind of our term. And if you go down the line and you want 3 scoops of strawberries, ask for 3 scoops of strawberries. You want extra cabbage, you want extra black beans, you want 2 scoops of ranch dressing. That's you don't get that when you just order a set salad from somewhere. It already comes pre-made the way they want it. And I think that's the beauty of our concept. We also have we're a co-packer as well, so we produce all of our soups, salads, and sauces. Soups, sauces, and dressings.
Mhm.
Our 12 dressings are preservative free, so they have a limited shelf life, most 60 to 75 days. And those are produced here in Houston. So we keep very tight tabs on that quality level. And I think our customers have just love to learn to love our freshness, and just the fact that we do clean label.
Clean label and customization. Those are great. How about just the food service industry as a whole? Taking us back out, what do you believe to be the greatest need in our industry today?
Well, I'll state the obvious. We need people that are passionate about being solid operators. We need staffing.
Mhm.
I think that's first and foremost. With 3% unemployment, we're still not seeing the quality applicant that we used to. So staffing is one. That's for us. That is one of our biggest challenges for our corporate stores, is maintaining staffing levels. So we're holding on to good staff because we've got incentives, bonuses. We do parties for them. We're doing things to make sure that they are known, that they're welcome, they're loved, and I think that shows in the quality of product that we turn out. So we pay a little more, but we also support them, and that's sort of what we share with our franchisees as well, to try to help them make sure that they are turning out a fantastic product. From the food service side, I would say I need some more proprietary slots within my distributors for some of our key items.
That's a great answer.
We
Absolutely.
need some bigger warehouses, if you will.
Yeah.
Warehouses need to be bigger. They need to hold more product. So I'm in need of a handful more proprietary slots. That's for me to negotiate at a later time, but I think that's probably an industry-wide situation.
Yeah, that's something that people come to us frequently with. Here's my produce items. These are the key items, but it's also a must that these 3 or 4 items ride on the same truck. So find us a home and you've got us a partner. So that's a challenge. Real estate is tight. And I think something that our distributors came out of COVID with is a true understanding of keeping a lean operation and needing to, fill out the trucks but also productive in the real estate inside their warehouse. So that's a great answer. I love that.
It's something I'm employing a few tactics within our broadline distributor on, some tit for tat. I'll trade you this for that. Let's begin using your brand instead of mine. but you'll need to do something to match my price and
Mhm.
make some internal deviations to adjust that. And I'll be happy to use your house brand if it meets quality. But I'll eliminate this proprietary item and go to your house brand, but I need another proprietary brought in. So just being able to work and massage the relationship with your distributors and vendor partners, I think is huge. So it's sort of forced us to look a little bit differently at that vendor relationship and help them, and in turn they help us.
Part of your first answer, though, in covering just passion being a great need in our industry, and specifically with the operators and staffing, I went to Texas Roadhouse for a dinner over the weekend, and every single server had a shirt on, and the back of their shirt said, "I love my job," with a big exclamation mark. And it was, I mean, there were so many staff members working, and then, they've got the country music going, and every now and again, the right song would come on, and they had to bundle in the center of the restaurant and do a line dance. I walked out of there so on fire about that brand, just simply because of the vibe inside. I mean, it was so upbeat, and there was so much pride for, what they did and the food that they serve. And that's something that I definitely took away as just being experiential with, when you build your restaurant concept and what you want to deliver, the people who come and enjoy it. So
That
I
sounds like
love
a
that.
fun experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine having several tables on a Saturday night and then having to set down whatever you're doing and go dance in the middle. I mean, it's multitasking for sure. They're my heroes. Okay, so let's get into the personal side of Josh Hoyt a little as we wrap up and ask you a few questions, just how you started your career in supply chain and procurement. You're in Houston, Texas. You were the national sales manager at McLean. How did you get from there to specifically with Salata?
So with McLean, I was there for a short period of time. My prior tenure, where I really cut my teeth in food service distribution, was 20 plus years with Cisco Foods in Houston. So I was sales manager with Cisco Houston, as well as a marketing associate. So working boots on the ground, working with customers, independent owner operators day in and day out, managing a high level high energy sales team for 15 years as a district sales manager, working with independent owner operators as well as multi-unit groups that were up and coming. So small mini chains, if you will, working with them on programs, MSAs, MDAs, proprietary slots, logo items, their growing business, looking at margin schedules, products, and that consultative selling approach. That's really where I learned everything about food service distribution for 20 plus years. Then moved to McLean, which was a little more on the retail side, but worked with them for a short period of time on food service, retail canned items into food banks across the country. So understanding, the sort of the lack of food for underprivileged families. So I got to see that side of the business, but that was really truly trucking and not so much distribution final mile. It was full truckloads. So I got to see a whole lot of different sides of the business, from sort of the retail side, the trucking, as well as sort of the final mile with Cisco. So.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear about experience. I mean, that your experience in broadline distribution certainly speaks for your approach with Salata. I can just tell in so many of the ways that you've answered questions, that depth. Whenever I speak with people that want to break into, national produce support, I tell them first start at the distributor level, get into a warehouse, look at product, see product in the cases, and understand what our drivers do for the final mile day in, day out. It kind of helps connect the dots as you start to expand further out. So how about something that you learned early on, either with McLean or Cisco, or even before high school, middle school, that's strangely relevant to what you do today?
I guess, I touched on it earlier. In my first year at Cisco, I had just come out of restaurant operations with Landry's, being a kitchen manager, and
Mm,
come to work for a major Fortune 100 company, sort of multi-billion dollar at that time in the early 2000s, and I struggled with product being broken or damaged. And I had to really understand that distribution was perfect. It was not perfect. And I touched on it earlier. It's still a human element, and we need to be patient and
mhm.
understand that there are going to be bumps in the road and that things are not going to be perfect. And it's something that I've had to learn from many years ago, that just be patient. Things have a way of working themselves out, and
Sure.
just do everything you can to mitigate. Look ahead and see, okay, what kind of issues could we run into, and do your best to keep those from happening.
Yeah.
But distribution is not perfect, and patience, you definitely have to have some patience in this industry. So that's something that I wanted to pull my hair out when we figured out, why couldn't a bag of flour be delivered without it being, broken?
Sure.
Billion-dollar company, we can't figure that out. And
Yeah.
then, once I figured I was going to be inconvenienced that day, or something wasn't going to go my way, and learn to deal with it, I was way better off. So once again, having a solid understanding of patience and putting it into work every day, um, was key for me.
All right. So I have a few what we call closer questions where we wrap up. And I'm going to fire them off. Just let me know what comes to mind first. First one is, what tool or strategy in your workday saves you the most time?
I live off of reports. First thing
Mhm.
I do, and I've always done that, even at my career at Cisco, was look at um, look at what was delivered. What did our restaurant sales do? Gives me an understanding of kind of what we're doing, where we're at, year over year, week over week, day over day comparisons, for all of our restaurants. Also look at inventory levels in all of our distribution centers. I get that type of reporting. So items that are proprietary to us, that are really important. We've got some reports built out that are definitely helpful. So start my day looking at those, and can head off any issues that we're currently facing, and put the plan together to mitigate any out of stocks. And hate to say it's reactive. Some is reactive to support issues that are happening right now, but also um, proactive to, how can we cut off any future issues before they happen. So that's a big part of my day. The first couple hours is just getting ahead of any issues.
Reviewing reporting. I love it. All right. Who has been, or do you have a mentor, and in what way?
Yeah, so not so much a mentor anymore, as more of a colleague, but
Hmm.
one of the first guys that I had at Cisco that kind of took me under his wing, to teach me quite a bit. There's a gentleman by the name of Scott Counts. He's had many different roles at the OpCo at Cisco Houston. Um, he's he's had quite a few different positions, from district sales manager, revenue manager, business development director. Just a fantastic individual, but I really leaned on him early on in my career to teach me all about programs, margin schedules, just different agreements, MDAs, GPOs, and kind of how they work. Understanding FOB, delivered costs, and how all those come together.
Mhm.
And it really set me up for success as a district sales manager, as I was working with many multi-unit accounts, up and coming small chains in the Houston market. So now we're colleagues, because we're pretty much equals in our knowledge level, but I owe a lot of my success and knowledge base to him. And in turn, I'd like to think that I've had a hand in bringing up some other individuals
Hmm.
as well, helping further some of my salespeople's career. I mean, that's what I was tasked with, and helping them learn the same thing so that they can be successful in their future endeavors.
Well, to that end, to the next generation of supply chain procurement, what is your best secret that you're willing to share?
One thing that helped me a lot with Salata was I went through training. I was familiar with the brand. The owners were, I've known the owners for a long time, and but I didn't know what went on the back of the house. I could walk through the line and pretty much see what they were doing, but having to go through training as a line level employee and actually cut the veggies and understand really what we're doing, and how that translates down to the actual customer and what gets them excited, was really important. So, went through training. I think knowing your operation from the inside out is important. So understand what each function does, as well as the products that they are using to do that role. So when it comes down to even the hostess that's wiping down menus or cleaning the glass, why are you buying that particular product? What's the reason why you would be buying that glass cleaner, or why do you buy that paring knife from that particular vendor? So really know the items and the vendors you get them from. Challenge the status quo. Why do we use this vendor? And if it's, well, we've always used that vendor, well, maybe it's time to begin shopping. If it's a key item, you definitely need to have multiple avenues and possibilities of additional vendors, because you never know what could happen. The pandemic was a big part of that, opening people's eyes to having more than one option for, say, manufacturer. Maybe not necessarily final mile distributor, but what do we pivot to when product A is out? Do we have a comparable substitute? If that item is no longer available, we need to have it. Go to shows. I say go to shows. Spend the money, go out, meet people. When I first got into this side of the business, I knew a lot of brokers and manufacturer reps, but I didn't know, I knew what was specific in Cisco. I didn't know all manufacturers. So going to different shows and just shaking hands and meeting people and asking questions and talking to them about their business was important for me. So I guess I was sort of in a really small town when I was with Cisco. Now I'm in a big city, I guess, with what's available to me after going to shows for the last 2 years and meeting people, and just, get to know people and network. I think that's huge. And the last thing I'll say is know basic economics. Understand, the war in Ukraine, and understand what that wheat crop that is no longer coming out of there, what is that going to do to certain items that you buy? Follow the soybean oil markets if you're heavy into fry oil. Understand what that's going to do to you. Just the basic supply and demand. Understanding those markets is huge in helping you make better purchasing decisions. In a inflationary period, do I contract long at a set price, but during a deflationary period, do I not contract, right? Because you're going to see the downs versus a steady price. So understanding some of those basic principles will do a new person well.
Those are great answers. I mean, it starts with training and understanding the bones of your organization, so that if you're heading into procurement, you're making the right recommendations and not these off the wall suggestions. Going to shows to meet people and just get in conversation, hear about, what's going on and some of the responses to it, and just building that network, right? Relationships are so critical in this industry. And then, 3, understanding, our global supply chain platform and just the economies that go into that. I love it. That's a great 3 to start off with, and I completely agree. How about just going back to the theme of grounded and maybe a daily habit that you have that keeps you grounded, so to speak?
I'm really social. I like being with people. I guess that's the sales side of me. Working with, just reaching out to my team members. I've got a great support system within our company. We've got top top level directors, as well as say all of our training staff. So just being in the office and working with them and seeing their smiling faces and talk to them about opportunities or challenges and working through that. Just being in the restaurants and working with our teammates is something that keeps me excited and going and grounded, if you will. And I think our chef, Josh Graber, he and I have a whole lot of fun when we're working on new products, new projects. If it's an LTO or something, he and I just bounce a lot of ideas off, and just working in the kitchen. I mean, we just have a whole lot of fun. So, we're a fun company. We do a lot of fun stuff. We love each other, and I think it shows in our food. So, just being at work every single day and working with great people that are experts in their field, if you will, but they're just fantastic human beings to begin with. That's for me. That's huge.
So for you, it's people that keep you grounded, but I'm a mother of 4, so I would say my alone time. That's what keeps me grounded. I love it.
I can understand.
All right. What excites you about the future, Josh?
For right now, it's our growth. We're in a massive growth stage. New markets coming on board. In that, it's never the same day twice right now, and that's what excites me. Things are never boring, but seeing the growth of our company. We're very entrepreneurial in spirit. We're so young. We're nimble. We're able to pivot. We're able to make suggestions, have ideas, have them implemented. But moving into new markets with new franchisees and seeing the growth and where we can go is truly the excitement. And so looking forward to the end of 2023, 24 coming on. We're definitely a brand to watch.
Love it. Last question. We call it pick or kick. Staple produce item for a burger.
Staple produce item. I would like to say homemade pickles, but that's probably too hard for the standard operator. I like the burger topper. I like the Mega Crunch burger topper, but I like it underneath the patty so that the bread doesn't absorb the grease. Right. That I like that Mega Crunch burger topper. That's for me. That's kind of a one piece that goes on there. Iceberg for me is not the way to go anymore for a burger.
Sure. Well, I love it, Josh. You've been a wealth of knowledge today, and I knew you would be an excellent guest. I'm so appreciative that you came on. How about for those that want to get in touch with you, those coming up into supply chain or procurement, or perhaps heard something that they want to follow up and ask a question on, where can people get a hold of you? Do you have a LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Happy to share knowledge, and I won't share too many secrets, trade secrets, but yeah, happy to speak with anybody at any time. It's sharing knowledge and passing it on is important in our industry.
And for those craving a fresh salad, feel free to access their website, salata.com, to see if there's one in your state or coming soon near you. Thank you, Mr. Hoyt.
Lauren, thank you very much. Had a great time.
Yes, so did I. And thank you to those listening. If you learned something today or laughed, tell someone about this episode. And this has been another exciting episode of Grounded. See you next time.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode. We have covered a lot of ground today. Thank you for joining. For show notes and our most updated market report, visit us at groundedthepod.com. Grounded is powered by the Buyer's Edge Produce Division. Our mission is to provide innovative solutions and excellent service to food service operators by leveraging technology, talent, and an insatiable appetite to improve.